In 2012, a lot of vessels that reportedly were bringing petrol to Nigeria did not exist. Some of them had sunk in the open sea 20 years before. And I think I was listening to a small clip by former CBN governor and the ex-emir of Kano, Sanusi, who was saying that when you go back and do the calculations, when you do the verification of how many petrol, liters are brought into Nigeria on a regular basis, by the way, at any time. Secondly, that so many of these ships that brings in fuel, according to the insurance companies, are nowhere near Nigeria at the time they said they are bringing fuel. And then you go to the NNPC. The NNPC is a private entity at this time, according to even the Nigerian government. It has been re-registered as a limited liability company or a public liability company, whichever status it has. What business does an NNPC have, again, to be telling us fuel prices when they are no longer a public entity owned by the Nigerian government? It's been privatized. So there's a lot of dislocations, deliberate dislocation. There's a lot of misinformation, and disinformation as well, to make the Nigerian people feel overwhelmed that they are the ones, their subsidy is the one killing the Nigerian economy. I'm saying and repeating here today, it is not subsidy that is killing the Nigerian economy. It is the Nigerian economic cabal that is balkanizing the country, that's killing. Nobody is talking about AMCON, for instance. And Shehu is here. Shehu knows how much AMCON is consumed, is taken in from rich people. Sometimes there are not up to 500 of them. They go and borrow money from banks, no collaterals. The Nigerian government will take these toxic loans. Sometimes somebody will be owing 150 billion naira. They will take a wristwatch of $5,000 from him and use it as a collateral, to pay for the 150 billion. These are things that we know. I'm a journalist. You are a journalist. It's the reason why I'm opposed to any kind of removal of subsidy. This is how we address poor people. Everywhere in the world, poor people are taken care of by government. The U.S. government was interested in. Okay, go ahead. What do you want?
I was going to ask you, what would you do if you had won the election on the issue of subsidy? And Nigerians are asking.
I have said it repeatedly, I will not remove subsidy. But by now, you would have been hearing of a lot of disruption of the criminal elements who are bringing in fuel in the country.
But if sorry, just a moment. Now,
your central bank governor will probably be cooling his heels somewhere. The NNPC, MD, or GMD, whomever it is, who are all involved in these criminal activities, will be arrested by now. They will be answering questions as to, because if you don't disrupt the network of criminals in this country, you can have peace. Shehu is saying it now that we need to increase minimum wage to 80,000. How are you even going to survive on 80,000 naira in a month if you are buying petrol at 500, depending on where you are located? One thing that nobody has also spoken of, there's also a fund, what they call Petroleum Equalization Fund somewhere, which is another criminal funding somewhere, which means that if you take fuel from Lagos to Kano, they pay you the differentials of the transportation. That's a huge amount of money that is wasted.
We are being told that
if you go to Chad now, petrol is 850. If I have access to petrol of 600 naira in Nigeria, 600 naira, right, and it's selling for 850 in Chad, where do you think I'll take my petrol to? Chad. Because that's why it will make more, economic 101. There's no amount of, that are surrounding us. If you can make more money from there, as long as your borders are manned by criminals in the customs, all this fuel that is supposed to be meant for Nigeria will go to the places where they have the highest profit. There's no country in the world where you allow oil marketers to run your country, or any marketer for that matter, not even in the US, which is the belly of the beast of capitalism. There's always regulation. Government is always involved. Prices went up, pump prices went up in the US recently. The president of the US was on that matter on a regular basis until the prices went down. They also subsidized at the states, local governments, and also the federal level to ensure that people don't suffer. So people just talk carelessly in Nigeria about subsidy as if it's a crime to subsidize poor people.